Oh, yeah. At Elimination Chamber, it's the Usos take on the tag team champs Shane McMahon and The Miz.
Hey, they calling themselves the best tag team in the world, Oos.
Hey, that's what they say. But you know what I say, Oos?
What's that?
On one hand, we got a cat trying to make his daddy proud.
That's The Miz.
And on the other hand, we got a cat who say his boyhood dream was to become tag team champion.
That's Shane McMahon.
Now they saying they the best in the world. That sound very familiar.
Hey.
I mean, it sound like they trying to be you and me.
But it don't matter, because this tag team right here different. This tag team is different.
Yeah, this tag team know how to struggle together.
Do you?
This tag team know how to starve.
Do you?
This tag team know how to be hot and be cool at the same time.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this tag team, I'm my brother's keeper. Or you.
I told them they don't know, but they are. Because next week, McMahon's TV's about to get locked down. Shane, The Miz, welcome to the Uso Penitentiary.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 142 of the Hoots podcast, live on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Stitcher, goddamn every podcast platform known to God's green earth.
Welcome one really called program. Overcast?
Yeah, I think Overcast and Breaker. I think that's what it's called. Oh, Podbean too. That's another place where people upload their shows. So yeah, anywhere you have a podcast, you can probably find our show. Anyways, welcome to the show, everybody. My name's Josh Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. I am alongside the Clown Prince, Adam Daley. What's up, my brother?
Josh, what's going on? Hey, listen, first and foremost, let's get this out of the way. I love admitting when I'm wrong, and hey, I was a little off about my Super Bowl prediction. Not the winner, obviously, but yeah, so much for that being the highest scoring or one of the highest scoring Super Bowls in history, huh? Kind of missed that just a bit, but
a bit outside.
Other than that, trying to figure out if we even watched a football game or if that was a scrimmage, and got some wrestling in this week, I guess. So I guess we get on with it.
Your prediction was off, and my level of personal interest in the game never wavered while it was going on.
This shows two things.
It was a low bar for my interest in both teams that were playing. So
listen, this shows two things. If you guys have paid attention to anything I've talked about football-wise all season long, American football-wise, when it comes to the Raiders, I'm always dead on. The rest of the league, I don't know shit. So at least, you know what I mean? At least I know what I care about. That's all. So
you can say that about a lot of people, though, and a lot of things, too.
Yeah, I don't try to pretend to be like who didn't think it was going to be higher scoring than that, you know? Was it like 3-0? Or oh, God, man.
I don't know. I kind of get this nice, like, little chuckle inside that the Patriots won the Super Bowl in the Falcons stadium after what happened a couple years ago. So
I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
The
Falcons stadium is busy, man. It's a busy-looking stadium.
Yeah.
It looks like an origami thing came to life. Like a little kid wished an origami creature would like come to life as a stadium, and it fucking grew up into the Atlanta Falcons new stadium.
Mm-hmm. Like, let's say like the Patriots are like John Cena, and John Cena actually beat CM Punk in Chicago. Like that's how I feel when I watch the Patriots.
It's interesting living in Pittsburgh, listening to all the chatter about Brady and their 6 Super Bowls versus the Steelers' 6 Super Bowls now. And
hey, they're the last team that should be whining about anything. They got enough issues that they need to fix. First off, we won 6 titles, but we can't even control our own fucking divas on our own roster.
You know what, bro? Last thing about this, and this is actually a couple of the people that I spoke with that, you know, just kind of wanted to see how they were feeling about it, and they were Steeler fans. They brought up a really good point, and they were like, listen, I hate to say this, but he's going to get 7. And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, just think about it. He was like, this was an off year for them. He was like, there was no way they had no business winning the Super Bowl this year. He was like, and you don't think he's just going to get one more? He was like, he accidentally got one this year. And like, basically either like Belichick or Brady, insert whoever you want to for he right there. But I heard that from a couple different people that I thought would be a little more upset about it or whatever. But they were just like, he's just going to break the record now. So we're just, you know, kind of accepting it. It's pretty wild, man. It was wild. Probably because the game was so boring, people just got lulled into a sleep, and they're like, whatever, just take it.
Kind of reminds me of Derek Jeter a couple years ago when he won his World Series against the Phillies. I think it was a few years back. Like they had that first like 3-peat and they had their little dicey going on, and then it was just like one in between. And the Yankees weren't even that great, to be honest with you, that year. The Phillies was like the hot start team. Hey, that was like 10 years ago. So guys, don't come for me to for baseball analyst or expertise, because my not my interest, but my attention to what's going on with baseball has been long gone for the last couple years.
Yeah, I haven't watched baseball in this decade, so I'm out of that conversation.
All right. Besides the game, what did you think about the NFL 100 commercial? Did you get to see that?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Oh,
wait, is that the one that had all the players in it?
Yeah,
in a ballroom or whatever, and it was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I guess it's cool. It got to be a little much. Sometimes I think it's a little much, but at the same time, when we see stuff like that for wrestling, we pop for it, no matter what promotion it is. So it's like, I don't want to, I don't know. I'm not as, I see through the NFL's smoke and mirrors so much more now, when you're older than when you're younger. And it's like, I don't want to deal with any of it. Just let my Raiders go play at a different baseball field in the Bay Area and let us be.
They made it very poignant with the Bears players in there because the NFL started with the Bears, so they're doing this whole centennial thing. The first person to speak is Mike Singletary. The first tackle goes to Brian Urlacher. Man, I'm surprised how fast Deion Sanders still is these days. Jesus Christ.
You know what's funny? For somebody to knock Steeler fans a lot, Bears fans kind of sound a little bit like Steeler fans sometimes. Sometimes.
In what ways, though?
Because the Steelers will ultimately pull out, look, this is why this Steelers in this commercial with this point for this, because Steel Curtain and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, God, just let a commercial be and not dissect it. Come on now.
I wasn't dissecting that. Facts.
It was probably by accident. It was some nerd with some ginger with curly ass hair. And it was like, oh, no, I'm just going to put this dude looks cool. I'm going to put him first.
Yeah.
He looks like my 8th grade shop teacher.
Yeah.
Do they still teach wood shop, or is that a very fucking 90s thing?
I wanted to read a quote today from Corey Graves before we get into the wrestling talk. We're gonna get into what's going on with the matches heading up towards the Elimination Chamber and catch up with what's going on with that. They're doing the AEW Las Vegas ticket rally thing. I guess everything with AEW now is a rally. So they got this event going on in Vegas tonight. So I don't have any info as far as what their new announcement is, but we can talk a little bit about it towards the end of the show. And we're gonna keep this a little short this week. Myself and I've got some stuff we gotta get out of the way. Not saying that this was a bad week of wrestling or anything like that, but even then, in these in between weeks through a chamber and a Fastlane pay-per-view, even for us podcasters, we have hard times coming up with stuff to talk about. But we're here to have some fun along the way anyway. Plus, we never really go things off a script, so this is how our show is.
Right. Plus, I'll admit, I am when I say I'm super swamped with work, it was I wasn't even in a way going to do the show this week, but with Valentine's Day next week, I might not be on next week's show. So, I gotta, figure it out. So it might be 2 abbreviated appearances by me, which will only boost ratings. The less I'm on here, the higher the ratings go. So.
All right, let's read this from Corey Graves real quick. It is human nature to crave control over all aspects of one's life. It's only in letting go that one can enjoy the happiness that simplicity brings. Do not attempt to stop the tides. Learn to surf. # stay down. So I thought it was a good quote from Graves, just to get you guys to think about stuff,
I'll piggyback off that with a quote from Maynard, James Keenan. Learn to swim. Ties directly in. If you listen to Tool, you get it. That's one that you either get it or that air was like the and moment of the thing. You either get it or you don't.
Right.
Learn to swim.
Learn to swim. really quick, I wanted to mention this from the Super Bowl. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm watching the game, and obviously there's been a lot of conversation about, the game was boring or whatever, that there wasn't enough offense.
It was horrible.
I was watching a regular New England Patriots game, and it was like we had Foxborough invade Atlanta. Like, every time they got first down, you'd think it was the Patriots home game by watching the game this past Sunday.
Yeah,
I thought that stood out to me. It stood out to me a lot because a lot of people are trying to pump up the LA market out. LeBron's with the Lakers. The Rams are a good football team. The Chargers are on the come up. They got new stadiums they're building out there. Everything's about California trying to get it up into like more popularity than the East Coast. But one thing I've always learned about sports, even for being 24 years old, is that LA goes like this, up and down, when it comes to their actual interests in their sports teams. And I just found that very interesting that you have practically a road team, quote unquote, in the Super Bowl, but most of their fans dominate the city and the stadium that they're in.
Do you know what, though? In a way, like, I used to just be like, oh, that sucks. It's terrible market, horrible fans. But, like, in a way, if I lived in LA, I probably wouldn't give two shits what the Rams did. Or even if the Raiders were in town. You know what I mean? If I wasn't a Raiders fan, I wouldn't, because there's so much else to do. People like, the cities like Pittsburgh are so football passionate because what else do we have here? Farms? Let's go cow tipping. That's a thing. That's a thing. People do this. Yeah. So that's why football is so big here. But in LA, yeah, that's why it doesn't matter. It's sunny all the goddamn time. It's gorgeous. Oh, the Rams are good. Cool. We'll be cool and trendy because that's what LA is. Cool, trendy, and we don't really know what's going on. Not trendy anymore. Oh, well, you jump right off. But the NFL don't care because as long as they're getting that jolt of that big market jolt, that matters, I guess.
I only remember cow tipping from the Tommy Boy movie.
I never went cow tipping, man. Listen, I went to high school with some interesting kids. I heard stories though of I went with a very eclectic group of individuals, but yeah. That's a thing.
So let's get to what's going on with Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. This is the big angle, everybody. I don't know if you caught the wind of it, but Becky and Ronda are probably going to be the biggest angle going into WrestleMania this year, and I think it's really cool. We've been talking about this for over a year now, about the actual possibility of women closing out a WrestleMania. And it's more and more reality. The more emphasis they put on and where they're putting these segments on. The fact that they even have Triple H come out in Everett, Washington to have a confrontation with Becky Lynch this past Tuesday on SmackDown adds more to the credence of where this thing's going. I want to give shout outs to Bully Ray really quick because I heard him on Busted Open Radio the other day talking about kind of this mindset of, okay, we got to bring this down to bring something up. It'll always kind of like we talked about in the past about, okay, this person's flavor of the month, so we got to like downgrade what their other challenger does at every single moment. I thought Ronda Rousey's promo backstage on Monday was awesome when she got it to Becky's face. But here we are again. It's like there's an article that came out the other day on Forbes saying that WWE has made Ronda Rousey the new Roman Reigns. And I'm like, what? Like, where do you get that from?
Well,
so because so anytime somebody's booed, they're Roman Reigns.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because I saw something too that, and I apologize for this chirping. It's like one of those. It's not a smoke detector. It's like one of those whatever alarms that test for fucking gas or whatever. I don't know. I'm trying out a studio room here today, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to get maybe a different thing going on here. But No, listen, man. I saw the connections, or people connecting. Ronda is the new Brock, or Ronda is the new this, or Becky is the new that, or Becky. I think that in a way, people are always going to try to compare and contrast. But at the same time, I think I agree with you about Ronda. I mean, she absolutely flubbed on a couple promos, and I think she knows that, and she's made the last couple count. And I think both of these women have been elevating each other. I really do. I think, they're playing off each other real well. Just Becky, how she just never seemingly breaks character, never breaks, expression. It doesn't matter how intense somebody is with her in her face or anything like that. I don't know, man. I mean, I think everyone's coming out smelling like roses. And this is the one thing I'll say, and then I'm sure this is the next, probably talking point, but, I absolutely, as a fan, want it to stay Ronda and Becky. You know what I mean? I think that's just what it should be. If Charlotte gets put in, I mean, I totally understand from a business standpoint, and I won't be upset about it either. I'm not going to be one of these fans that like freaks out or whatever. If that means that we get women main eventing a WrestleMania, regardless of whether it's one-on-one or a triple threat, I'm game. You know what I mean? I am absolutely game. So, I mean, I don't know. Man. Where do you think they go with that? Do you think they keep it just Becky and, as of right now, just Becky and Ronda, or does Charlotte get inserted in here?
I think they'll add Charlotte to this, and I think this has been more of a longer term story, more than just the Becky Charlotte rivalry before they got interactive with Ronda. I think this goes back all the way to their WrestleMania match that they stole, WrestleMania 32, a few years back. And you have AT&T Stadium, and you got Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha in front of the stadium. And they're one of the big, this is like the first time the women were a marquee for WrestleMania, and Charlotte ended up winning the first women's championship, right?
Right.
And this is for the brand split started again. And, I think this is all leading to the whole story. It writes itself. Think about it. Charlotte was always topping Becky when it mattered the most. Becky had enough of it. She lashed out. Never like, oh, I'm just going to be a heel. She just has the chip on her shoulder, yada, yada, yada. We know the whole drill. Charlotte and Becky have their feud. Becky ends up being the champion. Becky and Charlotte get jealous over Ronda's marketability and her getting bigger spotlights on pay-per-views and stuff. I think this all clashes with each other. I really do. And if the story is that, okay, you have the Ronda Rousey factor of what people want to see, but you also got the storytelling aspect of these two. Like, you can't get enough of each other. Charlotte and Becky is like Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Like they can't get rid of each other. They have to fight each other. Think about the WrestleMania that Benoit became the champion, and it was like Triple H and Shawn Michaels kept fighting each other. Even though Shawn Michaels didn't win the Rumble, he found a way in the match. Now, I'm not saying that Ronda Rousey is the Shawn Michaels in this situation. I'm just saying in general.
We're kind of saying she's the Benoit in this situation, but we're just going to let that one pass.
I mean, they do have submission holds. I mean,
you stop. Stop.
Do actually. Yeah. So I think Charlotte is going to be added to it, whether people like it or not.
I mean, in a way, not to sit there and just keep stuttering. I mean, you kind of would have expected. We in a way thought it was just going to be Charlotte versus Ronda. So Becky, I hate to say this, but Becky's the one that kind of changed plans, right? She really did. Like, yeah. As much as fans want to say WWE, well, they don't listen to fans. I mean, realistically, we all thought, and I don't know, and it was probably, this doesn't mean anything, but I would be willing to bet that it was probably Ronda versus Charlotte etched in for WrestleMania, and that was going to be the match. But then Becky happened, right? Then the man happened. And like they always say, oh, they don't listen to the fans. This is more of we should appreciate the fact that Becky – and I'm not saying this isn't taking anything away from Becky because she earned that spot in there. But sometimes this is what, they're not just going to replace Charlotte and just do like a switcheroo, because that there's still a reason why, whether you like it or not, she is a Flair. You know what I mean? You're getting wrestling royalty. You're getting a wrestling purist in a way out of Becky Lynch, and then you're getting a crossover from UFC. So you're kind of getting one style of every wrestler that every internet mark goes nuts about, right? And you're putting him into a triple threat. And if that is the first women's match to ever headline a WrestleMania, that's exactly the prototype that you want for that, because that you're showcasing the three different variations of athletes that you have. So I don't know. That's just my take on it.
I agree with you, brother. I maybe my analogy I should have used more was
not Benoit.
Batista, Randy Orton. Because people are going after Ronda like they went after Batista, and Randy's the second generation guy that keeps getting into Daniel Bryan's way, like Charlotte, yada yada yada. So I guess that's the better analogy to use in this situation. But for me, I just don't see Daniel Bryan as Becky Lynch. I don't correlate those two characters together. I think the man serves a bigger purpose for the future of the women's division more than a yes movement, just to say, oh, okay, hey, indie guys can main event of WrestleMania.
Right. No, Daniel Bryan was the underdog. Becky Lynch is the outlaw. There's, I guess that's the difference right there. I guess, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. And of course everyone's going to instantly go back to that one, because that was the most recent, that's the most recent time people can remember. Well, which is kind of BS too, because if you look at it, the very next year, and I don't want to say they gave, obviously it's the man earned it, but when they decided to, cash in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, that was absolutely, I think, listening to the fans. I really think they knew that it was time to take the gamble, and they had the right person, and they had, it was just the right scenario where it was high risk, high reward, or it was more low risk at that time than in high reward. So, and I think it paid off in spades for them. So that, this is the same kind of scenario, but everybody remembers the Daniel Bryan moment, because it was a longer burn. Seth Rollins came in and kind of stole with Money in the Bank. We had to, I don't want to say we had to, like it was bad. But we went through the Daniel Bryan storyline of him being an underdog, where this is something that's, in my opinion, totally different. This is the outlaw, and why the Austin comparisons are coming in.
I want to bring up Seth Rollins really quick, brother. This is something I've been thinking about for the last couple weeks, and Seth Rollins wins the Men's Royal Rumble match. He's going to fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I think this journey that Seth Rollins has been on since coming back from the knee surgery, and this is where he's gone from. So think about this. So he comes back, he beats Triple H at WrestleMania a couple years ago. One of the few guys to, like a current guy, to beat Triple H on a main stage like that. Like, Seth Rollins gets a big rub there, right? He has that rivalry with Triple H, which was one of my favorite WrestleMania matches over the last couple years. Rollins Triple H, I thought that was really good. Last year, he won the Intercontinental Championship. He started off the show, and now he's getting a chance to main event WrestleMania, and whether he beats Brock Lesnar or not, we'll see what happens. But have you noticed more of an emphasis on Seth Rollins since he's came back, or you feel like other people were like, okay, yeah, he gets some wins here, there, and he's still being held back?
You know what? I never really looked at Rollins as being held back. I think that there was a time where, and I think Rollins is a smart enough guy now, especially. I mean, he's been there long enough. He was the man for a while. He was, he kind of carried the torch there for a little bit before the injury. After the injury, I mean, when you do have time away, it does, regardless, it does mature you. And I think that's when you can kind of take a step back and start to appreciate the business end, and not in what you can do. And like I always said, it's what you can not only do for other people, but do for yourself at the same time. And with that being said, I think that when he came back, it wasn't anything of like they were holding him down. I think that he was just, listen, he's got a lot of business ventures outside. He's got a lot of things going on that way. He does a lot of PR work for WWE, and he was still, trying to make and was making something happen with mid card titles, tag team titles, and in a way his stuff was kind of getting interrupted with injuries. First Dean, and then Roman, and then And obviously there's no fault to anybody in that, but when you're, so for Rollins' character to kind of, him, Roman, and Dean all kind of kept getting lost in the shuffle because of each other's injuries and each other, So all of that being said, no, I never thought he was being underutilized or left behind, or I think that he did what was asked. Because just like Becky Lynch, man, and this is where I want to compare the two. And I keep saying this, and I've said it for years on these things now, but certain people, and this is why, as much as people knock him, like Baron Corbin is going to always have a job there because he does what's asked. He does what's asked of him. Because he's there to he knows that if he makes other people better, he's also making himself better. The same was like with Kane. You look at all these other guys, but Becky and Rollins both. This has been coming for a long time, man. And it was just sooner or later when that you have that crowd, behind you, eventually that window is going to open because either something like this, like there's potential competition on the horizon, and you better start, really pleasing the fans or whatever, or even if it has nothing to do with anything, related with any other wrestling promotion out there, just in-house. If you decided, now we're finally going to run with Becky for a while. You always want to stay ready as a performer. And this is just a situation, Josh, where I think both talents, including, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, no matter who we talk about with this right now, they absolutely, when given the torch, ran with it. You know what I mean? And grabbed the brass rings or insert whatever analogy you want to here. I mean, they are the epitome of what it's like you do for your company and get rewarded, tenfold in the end. And especially then when you're on top, Josh, when you're on top and you are the man, or the main title or whatever, and when you're consistent, it's hard to knock you down. They always say it's hard to get to it. Once you're at the top, it's hard to stay there. And that's absolutely true. Unless you're consistent, right? And right now they're pretty consistent. And merch is consistent and everything, everything that needs to be consistent is consistent. So I'm right.
Yeah, and when you look at both shows, if you had to ask anybody who's like the most consistent performers on both Raw and SmackDown, you would say Seth Rollins and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could put Latto on the list too, though. You could put Almas.
I don't disagree. No, Charlotte. Listen, Charlotte always is on point. It's rare that you ever get even a minor slip up out of Charlotte. I that's why I don't understand some of the vitriol that goes her way either. I love this evil queen gimmick that she's running with. It's great.
Man, I didn't know Everett was an actual town, but Daniel got a big reception from his home state.
So great.
I never seen so many people excited for organic hemp in my life, so I thought that was pretty cool.
I have, but I've hung out in some different circles in my life, so.
So Daniel Bryan is complaining about being in the Elimination Chamber match, and I guess if I was like a heel commentator on the show, I would say I would agree with him because he's like, Grace was like, this is ridiculous. This man just came back from concussion issues. You're gonna put him in the chamber, like something like that. Like you can do that, but Daniel Bryan's promo on Tuesday just gets better each week. And we talked about last week about the top 5 things that stood out in wrestling over the last couple months, and the new Daniel Bryan just continues to outdo himself each week.
I like that he made sure to say, it wasn't anybody there in the great state of Washington that they were very eco-friendly there. It's for everybody else watching at home that doesn't understand. I like that he had to make sure, he deflected the cheers there. It was well done. Very well done.
Yeah, man, he gets on a roll, man. It's funny because I was doing his showcase mode on 2K19 the other day, and they were showing his promos when he lost the title to Sheamus, and he was like, no, like the whole no movement, and he's just going on rants like he is right now. The guy's got it, man. It's tremendous.
Yeah, he's gold. He's right now. And listen, I really think that this is a good spot for Roman too. I do. It makes sense.
Yeah. Don't what my intellectual peer.
That was so great. Quoting like novels and shit. It's brilliant.
Man, what really got me hooked to it was when he went after Vince about the baby boomer generation. I was like, there you go.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut with that one. But speaking about, excess, I loved Ambrose's line about EC3 because there was a little bit of excess baby oil going on. There was. It was a little over Patrick Bateman a little bit.
I mean, you could also say there's a lot of baby oil in that heavy machinery group as well, but
I think that's cooking grease.
Cooking?
It's Crisco.
Probably. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, actually, because I find it interesting that Nia is on every single Moment of Bliss. I guess it's her moment just to troll everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. No, not enough people appreciate Nia. She is such a gem. It's so great.
Some people are salty, like, why don't you let EC3 talk? Hey, so you want to know everything about EC3 by the moment? Like, my friend Dedrick sent me this the other day, and this is the creative geniuses that are out there that could book everything better than everybody. Mm-hmm. So somebody
bury your friend on a podcast.
No, not him. This is not from. This is from somebody else.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh man.
No, Dedrick's a good brother. No, I'm not gonna rip him. But I'll say this. I forgot the Twitter account because it's so fucking stupid, the idea. So basically they want to rehash part of the EC3 Dixie Carter thing from Impact, but be more of EC3 marrying Dixie Carter. Like, Dixie Carter's his wife, something like that. I was like, seriously, dude?
In WWE?
Yeah.
Why though?
I don't get.
I don't think, and listen, this isn't anything against Dixie Carter, but I just don't think that enough people would care. This isn't Eric Bischoff coming in from WCW. You know what I mean? No, let's not try to even, and that's the comparison people are really have always tried to make about. Well, if Dixie Carter shows up on WWE, there's no comparison. Eric Bischoff, it was an enormous name. People knew who the hell he was. I just don't think Dixie Carter does anything for WWE, and that's nothing against her. That's not, again, it's just, you have to think about the demographics, and there's just a real small, I feel like, wrestling population that's even going to, like, get the reference, or you're going to get the character, or even give a shit. I think it would be better to put EC3 with somebody that's already there, or, if you're going him with the cougar older woman route, I guess, is what you guys are laying out there. Maybe just bring back a legend or something like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think you have to go bringing in Dixie Carter for non-shock value.
Non-shock value. That's the keyword right there.
It's like that'd be the worst build-up. That'd be worse than the gobbledygooker. I don't think that people would just be like, who? Oh.
It's like bringing the Jackal.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no.
Cyrus.
I like Cyrus. I was in the minority, so I'm going to shut my mouth on this one.
So I guess we can all admit now that A Moment of Bliss is just going to be our weekly comedy segment on Raw. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
it's keeping Alexa Bliss on television.
Yeah, more Alexa Bliss, the better. Yes, indeed. Really quick, I wanted to mention some other stuff that's going on outside of Raw and SmackDown, just to catch everybody up. So, Akira Tozawa will be fighting Buddy Murphy at the Elimination Chamber. So now these pay-per-views are featuring more Cruiserweight title matches on the show. Buddy Murphy's doing the thing where he's going to be like... It's going to be like Kenny Omega-wise in the 205 Live show, long title reign, but having good matches in between. Akira Tozawa is a good wrestler, so I think that'll be a good match at the Chamber. By the way, Walter, the big acquisition for NXT UK.
Walter
is the man, and he probably has my favorite wrestling theme song that came out in the past year or so. I am a sucker for classical music, and his song fits his character so perfectly. I like Walter a lot. He's really good. What else I was going to mention? NXT. So they did this Worlds Collide tournament during Royal Rumble weekend, right? So you have people from 205 Live, NXT, NXT UK. It was a pretty long tournament. It was like 16 matches. I actually put some time into it because I've been off of work for about a week and a half with some stuff going on at the tattoo shop. So I've had some time to put some time into other things.
Mother Nature gotcha.
Yeah,
she gotcha.
I got. Yeah, so I was able to document that tournament really quick. So Velveteen Dream wins. He won the tournament, beating Tyler Bate in the finals. So whoever won the tournament, they got to choose to fight a champion they're choosing from whatever brand. So he decided that he's going to go after Johnny Gargano at the NXT North American Championship. So that's what came out of NXT last night. And I'm trying to see what else I could point out here real quick. Oh, Austin Aries and Sami Callihan were trading barbs on Twitter the other day. Sami Callihan is you want to talk about outlaws. That guy doesn't give a shit who you are. He just runs his mouth.
Yeah, for sure.
He calls himself the Draw now, and he's like one of the bigger stars on Impact now. And Austin Aries was pissed off that Sami Callihan took minutes out of his pay-per-view main event time slot when Austin Aries was still with the company and he was the champion. So they were going back and forth on Twitter. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then finally, outside of WWE, I wanted to mention, the New Japan Cup is coming up soon. So yeah, more tournaments, more tournaments, peeps. More and more tournaments and more shows these days, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't got a chance to watch Women of Wrestling yet. I haven't. I heard it's good. I heard it's cool. I don't have Access TV, so I don't get to watch it each week.
You have to appreciate campy. You know what I mean? You have to appreciate that campy humor that, if you're it really is reminiscent of the original Glow and to some degree, but you really, again, have to not take wrestling too serious if you're going to watch Women of Wrestling. I have to keep emphasizing that. Otherwise, you're going to hate it. But I speak from realms where one of my favorite movies is called Poultrygeist. So, I'm a little bit of a strange dude. So what was I going to mention really quick from Raw? I forgot.
I remember. Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was teasing his retirement thing on Raw this Monday. Out comes Baron Corbin on cue. This leads into a thing with him and McIntyre and Braun Strowman. I don't know where this thing's going. Maybe this is Angle's lead up to a WrestleMania match with McIntyre one-on-one, and then Angle goes on his merry way. It's something I could see happening. I think they want to put an emphasis on Drew McIntyre, so even if he's not fighting for one of the main titles, Drew McIntyre could fight Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, and Braun Strowman takes out Baron Corbin, and he gets his revenge there. So that's how I see things going on. What do you think about that?
No, I can see that. I like that. I think obviously this is leading up to a WrestleMania match where he could probably have a final match at WrestleMania. I don't even want to say final match, but just maybe a final program.
Right.
Where he might come back for little spots here and there. But listen, I agree with everything you said there. So I don't really want to try and add any more salt into the ingredients. Yeah. So what I wanted to say about Raw is that man, I'm not necessarily sold yet that Dean Ambrose is leaving WWE. I mean,
I haven't been sold either, even after the article.
I don't know, man. I don't want to try and play whatever. But again, this is the fun of it, and who knows? But I think this is where a lot of us are already starting to work ourselves into a corner and book ourselves into a corner because we think this, that, or the other thing is going to happen. And, I don't – right now I'm not – I mean, because right now, Josh, okay, so yes, they're saying Dean Ambrose is leaving, or whatever, so. But where does Renee go to? Does she stay? Does she, what happens with her? But I'm sure that's a totally different story. She's there, she really only travels to Raw, so it's, Raw and the pay-per-views or whatever. But
right.
On the flip side of it, so now the whole Finn Balor stuff, like they're just trolling fans at this point, and we're just eating right out of their palms, Credit to both WWE and AEW, honestly. Like, they're both doing such a fan. And right now it's 4:18 p.m. on the East Coast on February the 7th. So we don't, this is before the Double or Nothing press conference. So we have no idea what's being talked about there, who's being introduced, anything like that yet. So this is going to sound very dated, like the minute that we publish it.
Right.
But I do really right now think that both promotions are, whether we realize it or not, Josh, and we're going to talk about, all Elite Wrestling here in a second, but I'm not sure before we close up, but I think there's actually more of and I could be completely wrong, but I do think that there's more of a brother and sisterhood between locker rooms where, I'm not necessarily saying some of the higher ups in maybe WWE, but I think that, both locker rooms, both AEW and WWE, are pulling for each other to succeed. I don't think there's ever going to be like bad blood between these two companies like the
right.
fans want there to be. I actually think the fans are going to make this more of a feud than either company has to. And I think both companies are realizing, wow, we can actually not, obviously not work together, but because they're going to compete against one another, or attempt to compete against one another. But it's still, I think they both know it's like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's back to let's see who can one up each other. And it's all, again, beat a dead horse. It's all best for business, So I think that WWE they wouldn't be as hesitant to tease departures as they maybe would have been in the 90s, because they know that they're still, their numbers are still going up. Their numbers are still going up. So we can say this, we can say that. Ratings don't matter, guys, anymore. No, we don't watch it live. It's a rare, small percentage that watches wrestling live. And even a lot of people that are watching it live are still fast forwarding through the commercials on a DVR, and that doesn't give them a Nielsen rating anyway. So if so facto, let's just call it like it is. Like, yes, I understand that they matter to a degree, but they're almost, it's at that point where like Radio Shacks were still hanging on for a while too. Yeah. So I don't know, but that's where, but that's just where I'm going with Dean, man. Because I really thought, Dean was cool on Monday night. He had a nice little promo coming out and interrupting everything. And, this could just lead to an angle of frustration where, who knows? Who knows? Maybe he does leave, maybe he doesn't. But I hate that, the one thing I realized Monday night was I hate that people are already getting so far ahead of themselves that, Finn Balor must be leaving. The Good Brothers must be leaving. Everyone must be leaving.
Randy Orton's leaving.
Or Lesnar's leaving, and listen, it's
leaving.
And some are, and let's not get it twisted. Obviously, some are, but that's like, let's let it all happen first, guys. Like, my God, let's let at least this second press conference, which is going to be killer. So once people listen to this, it's going to sound dated, but we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's the good old fashioned my one relationship didn't work out, and I'm going to make everything to make sure that this guy is right for me, yada, yada, yada. This entity is perfect. There's no flaws to it. I'm not gonna be dubbed again or got, like you mentioned earlier. I'm not gonna be made look a fool again. Like, you only make yourself a fool when you keep trying to push something more than what it is.
Right. That's why I like I said, I love how they're doing it and how they're teasing little things like on Being the Elite this week, like the little subtleties of at the very end, the Kenny Omega spot where it's a class. I'm going to go with the classic character. I think it's Claire and I forget the dude's name. Wow, I'm disappointed in myself. But then at the last minute, he switched it over to Claire, which was supposed to be like his new mission instead of going with the classic mission. So. Because and he said that. So I don't know. What does that mean? Does that mean Kenny shows up, which he probably does? Would make absolute sense for him to show up there today. But I don't know, man. The one thing that I hope that we get, Well, we'll talk AEW in a second. We'll pull something from SmackDown, brother. What else other than Becky and Dan O'Brien? Pull something else from SmackDown that you really like this week.
I really liked the Usos promo. I'm going to be playing that at the beginning.
For sure, it was good, man. Yeah.
I'm going to be playing that at the beginning of the show this week. So the Usos are going to fight Shane and Miz at the Elimination Chamber. So that's going to be the SmackDown tag title match at Chamber, right? So I think it's cool. And I thought this was a nice little touch. McMiz TV. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it. I just didn't want to bring it up. And I don't, because now we're in a McDonald's situation where everything is like, I just want chicken nuggets.
I think there's a reason for that, though. I find it very interesting how fast this Chamber pay-per-view is going. Because think about it, it's a week from this Sunday, and we're just coming off the heels of the Rumble. I think some people are still trying to even like digest and come out of that whole Rumble weekend, even still this time this week. So I have a feeling that with the fact that they brought Miz's dad to say that he's proud of him and this and that, this partnership's not lasting that much longer. It's not.
No, God, no.
I know it's early for predictions, but don't be surprised if the Miz attacks Shane at the Chamber. The Usos are going to bring us something personal during this Miz TV segment next week.
I can see it.
Scenes are going to start there. So I really thought that the promo the Usos had, they always cut good promos. Especially when they made this character change a couple years ago, they've been on point with their promos.
Remember, that was always my complaint, dude. We actually booked like a dream card years ago on your show, and I said the Usos versus the Young Bucks, and everybody was like, not the Usos, and it was like, yo, don't hamper them because they were in the paints at the time, you know what I mean, and in the neons. That wasn't their. They were doing what they were told, man. They were just doing their job.
Right.
You can't take away what they were doing, inside the ring. And no, man, promo wise, they're always solid. I always look forward to an Uso segment. The Usos always get me hyped up too. I like Naomi and Carmella's little tandem this week.
Yeah, I like that.
That was cool.
The Fabulous Glow.
Yeah, it was all right.
To it.
It was cool.
I find this Chamber match for the women pretty interesting because, like, besides Sasha and Bayley, you don't have the bigger name women stars in there. But I don't think that's a bad thing either, though. Like, I saw some people like, oh, why are you wasting the Chamber for these women in there? Well, it's not about the women who are in the match. It's about crowning a championship.
Plus, it's, you know what? I mean, this is almost the lay cool factor of it. You want to make sure, and I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I feel like you want to make sure your first tag team, and you guys know probably where I'm going with this, your first women's tag team shouldn't just be two people that they threw together. Like, I know you guys aren't going to like this, but Sasha and Bayley, for example. Ultimately, we know there were two singles stars that can each go for the championship title anytime they want to, realistically, right?
Right. When
you have a team like the Iconics, they remind me so much of Lay Cool, And what Lay Cool did with the belt, how they broke it, there was like the friendship necklace or whatever. And then they took the title and broke it in half or whatever. I don't know, man. It just I feel like they would be a cool team to run with it first. And I don't really care about the popularity over popularity. They draw heat from the crowd. Then you can have your happy-go-lucky story or whatever. But I would just like to see it like an actual tag team win the first one. Or listen, Mandy Rose and Sonya is another one on the list that I would love to see. Mainly because I want to see Corey Graves' reaction. Not gonna lie. No, we're big Sonya fans here. My daughter really looks up to Sonya Deville for a lot of different reasons, and so we always pull for Sonya and Mandy. I pull for Corey Graves' commentary all the time. So I mean, it's the perfect storm of everything that we love here in the Daily household. So, I'm trying to think of who else is in this on the Raw side.
Hold on, didn't Byron say this week? Are you only going to talk about Mandy Rose during this match? He's like, yep.
Yep. Yeah, there was something. They always try to call him out every week for it, but it gets better and better every week.
I don't blame him, though.
It's great. And it's funny that people get so mad about it online. You have a wife. Well, it's a character, man. Like, it's
right.
It's like, come on. But what do you think of the angle where they're spinning it around, how they're saying it was Naomi's fault and Naomi was bullying them and it caused her to like go through all this emotional distress and lose her boyfriend? It's the revenge factor. And what do you think about that?
I just thought it was interesting that they actually brought up Tough Enough into the thing, that they actually went back to tell the original story. And, you know, even watching that season of Tough Enough, a lot of the performers, not just the judges, but like the in-house talent that would come in, were kind of like salty towards the Tough Enough contestants on the show. I remember I forgot what it was, but there were certain wrestlers that were salty towards the Velveteen Dream. Think about that. Velveteen Dream was in the same Tough Enough class as Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
That's crazy. See, I didn't watch that year. I really should have, but I forget why I didn't watch. There was just so much going on.
All right, this is a good way to get
168 hours.
This is a good way to everybody to go check out the podcast and subscribe to our channel. I uploaded an interview I did with the Velveteen Dream when he got eliminated for Tough Enough. I put it up yesterday on our channel, so if you want to listen to that, just type in the Hoots Podcast on iTunes. And the cool thing about Anchor now, I can put any episode I want on there, so we don't have any limit issues. So this is a blessing here. So if you want to hear my old interview I did back in 2014, I think, with Velveteen Dream, go check it out. It's pretty cool.
Dipping into the archives. I like it, man. I like it.
The archives, man. Patrick Clark. Yeah, you know what's funny about him? He's so like into marketing his own brand and stuff. Yeah, he called his Periscope chats Patrick Scope. Like
there is no Patrick Clark. There is only Dream.
Yeah,
there is only the Dream. There is no Patrick Clark.
Yeah. What else stood out from SmackDown to you?
Man, yeah. I mean, I like the whole scuffle they did at the end. Usually, I'm not big on setting up the whole elimination chamber matches. They always have to have the conflict where every combatant is in the ring at one time. I thought they did it in a really cool way this time. I really enjoyed that. You know what? I like how they were building up the chamber. And just Daniel Bryan again keeps sticking out to me. But I do like how they're building up the chamber. I think they're building up a really nice pay-per-view for what's supposed to be a filler or an in-between. There's a lot of nice little spots in it that I think, now that we don't have the NFL around to distract us, and I don't mean that obviously to distract of it, but it is a distraction because like when you're watching football all day for 8 hours, then you're going to try and watch a 4-hour pay-per-view.
Well, let me correct
you can't tell me that doesn't wear on you,
It's a distraction because you're not watching the game. You're watching the stupid fucking squares that you put your money in.
You're watching your fantasy football score.
Greed.
Yeah.
Impotent. Change it. Damn it.
None of you care about your favorite teams. You only care about your fantasy teams because you're fickle.
Fickle.
I always start players against the Raiders, so I'm just as fickle.
Oh, man. I really enjoyed the Mustafa Ali Randy Orton match. I thought that was really good.
I liked his promo backstage too. I've actually really been enjoying his promos a lot. Like I think I'm glad that I actually really thought Cedric Alexander was going to get more of the main roster rub. And it's not that I'm glad because I love them both. People are going to take that the wrong way. In oversensitive 2019. But I really am glad that Mustafa Ali kind of got the push first. I think just because it came a little more out of nowhere. It was a little more organic. You know what I mean?
Yep. By the way, I'm grabbing my phone for a reason because we have our weekly Tiny Dick Syndrome moment of the week that I'm going to bring up here before we go into AEW talk to wrap this bad boy up. So this week's TDS moment of the week brought to you by, Wrestling Twitter, where it's the home of TDS.
As soon as Wrestling Twitter became a thing, I remember, like a phrase, I remember looking and seeing them going, oh, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah, thank God I didn't come up with that saying or dub. The fact that that's a real thing is just absolutely mind-blowing. How people are not losing IQ points by the second.
Oh, they are. You all are.
Yeah.
But this chirping in the background is actually like an experiment just to see if anybody starts wigging out.
Yeah. The neophytes in your guess.
Yeah, right.
All right, so here we go. This week's TDS Moment of the Week, brought to you by Wrestling Twitter, says it's a travesty that Mandy Rose, of all people, are fighting for the inaugural SmackDown Women's title. The fact that we have a woman who's not even tall as Sable and as less attractive as Sable at that point adds more to the fact that she's not worthy of being in this match in the first place.
I don't understand why Sable has to get brought into it. And again, there's another scenario where it was cool for Sable to beat up men, but why isn't it for Nia Jax?
Yeah.
Not to keep throwing examples out there, but here's another thing I guess I don't get, man. Like I don't understand why Sable's the reference point, but I think Trish is more of a comparison to Mandy Rose, but
yes,
this is also different. We're talking about the tag team titles, right?
Yes.
Okay, so she's been in a tag team the entire time she's been up there, or she's been on one of the Raw or SmackDown rosters. I think that just doesn't make. I don't understand. I think that's just that, Josh. People just put stuff out there for people to react against, and that's all that is. Yeah. That's ultimately what that whatever tweet you just read, whomever it came from, or whatever outsourced. Troll farm put it out there. It's ultimately just to get a reaction. That's all.
Let me ask you something. Like, is a sheep a lazy way to describe like somebody like latching onto that type of thing, or is there a different way to like explain it?
No, I mean, I'm done with the whole sheep thing. Look, everyone calls each other sheep. In a way, everybody is. Everybody.
That's why I'm asking this.
Yeah, it's all tribalism, man. It's all everybody just It is once again feeding, I guess, either someone's own narrative or because first of all, I don't understand who wouldn't want Mandy Rose in this match. That's beyond me. But listen, she works really well in the ring.
Yeah, she's a good wrestler. You guys do not give her enough credit for what she does in the ring. And
they kind of have they call them Fire and Desire, here's the old WCW. This kind of reminds me of an old like Vicious and Delicious kind of tag team. The old the Scott Norton Buff Bagwell tag team. You know what I mean? Like it's just obviously a little, but it's just kind of the same way. It's you have your striker character. You're more of like your strike fighter. And you have like the sex symbol kind of thing, and so you have like your finesse and your strength. That's old school tag teams, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Just checking.
By the way,
maybe that's why it's sensible to me. I don't know.
Speaking of WCW, this random note here, I got followed the other day by Scotty Riggs. That guy would have been a good third member of Heavy Machinery.
Oh God, we got to keep bringing them up. Again, I live around people just like that. Like that's Western Pennsylvania. That's seriously, it's Beaver County. Represent.
All right, let me ask you this: like, for Sam Callahan, does he remind you of people who live in Ohio? Because his whole gimmick in Impact is OVE, Ohio versus everything.
Yeah, I could see it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know some dudes that are pretty wild. Off kilter, good dudes, great dudes from Ohio, but yeah, it has an interesting place. I like Sammy Callahan. I like his character is spot on. Like it's
Does Ohio and West Virginia just blend in with each other, or no?
The Panhandle, yes. Once you get past the Panhandle, you feel like if you've seen Wrong Turn, there's a reason why. I think that movie's based in West Virginia, right? There's a reason why. It's a frightening place. You don't really want to veer off. Ask Jamie Noble, I guess, or Heath Slater.
Jamie Noble, man,
or DJ Z. Isn't that what was that dude? DJ Z, is he still a thing?
Oh, DJ Zima Iron,
yeah. He's from, I believe he was from. He lived in Weirton, West Virginia for a while, which is in the Panhandle, like maybe a half hour from Pittsburgh, from where I'm at right now.
I found out that Ricochet's from Kentucky, so I guess the triad, you can mix all of them together.
Don't you ever link us in with – you can link Ohio in with Kentucky, but don't you dare.
But you're from Pennsylvania. You're not from Ohio.
We don't – but but you kind of said like there's a trifecta there. No, we don't border Kentucky. We border New York. And we border New Jersey, and we're Northeast. Don't start blending us into that Midwest bullshit, man. No.
The only reason I don't blend them here because they're an hour ahead of us. That's the only reason.
Right. Yeah.
I could say the same thing about Indiana, but it's practically right next to my state.
Indiana's frightening, man. It is. It's like everything about the movie
like
Get
that
Out.
Area you do not want to be in for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm. It was all Get Out. I was like, yeah, we got to get out of here.
I remember you telling me about it on your way over here. Just how fucked up it is.
It was wild, man. It was different.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Let's talk a little bit about AEW. Tonight they got their press rally for the Double or Nothing event at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Man, they haven't done a show at that venue since I was 6 years old. I think it was a WCW pay-per-view they did in Vegas when they were still making money at that time. So Double or Nothing, the follow-up to All In. We got this AEW brand. I find it interesting that they're doing it on Thursday. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. Just really quick for you, like, do you have a preference on what day this AEW show will come on if it is weekly?
No, not for me. No, I mean, because everything gets DVR'd anyway, and no disrespect to any company out there. There isn't necessarily an order I watch things in.
Yeah, we don't go by your schedule.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like, I mean, there's weeks where I'll watch SmackDown before I watch Raw, and it's just however, it falls. So I am honestly, what I'm hoping for out of this is I do hope that they are announcing a television deal. If that's one of the things they're announcing, man, to me, I don't care what day of the week it is. I don't care what time slot it is, really. You know what I mean? I have a DVR. That's why we pay the money for it. And realistically, I think they know that. I think they know that, right now, they get that from being the elite, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So they understand, 20-minute bursts. I mean, they really have us watching half-hour shows. Television shows are 23 minutes long, 20 or a half hour when you include all the commercials. Typically, your sitcom, your whatever, it's 22, 23 minutes long. And that's what typically being elite is, right? So they're already running half-hour shows, without a wrestling, actual wrestling matches attached to it. So in a way, they're already laying the groundwork, So a TV deal, dude, for me, that would be exciting for me. That's one thing I would like to see come out of it.
Can Papa Buck make all the entrance songs? I'll be down for that. And by the way, if he needs help, I could maybe play some acoustic rhythm guitar in the background. I'm free to help out.
They wouldn't want me going near any sort of musical instrument, or a microphone for that matter. Voice for hire.
But I don't want to get people like super I don't care. Why should I care if people get offended? People will get offended if you blink at somebody these days, for God's sakes. I have a feeling Ryback's going to be on this thing.
It would make sense with it being in Vegas. Dude, and I actually think, again, I think that would be a good spot for him because he's got so many outside business ventures that he wants to dip into. But let's face it, Ryback is a guy that you can love him or hate him, and I don't care what anybody says about him. You at least have to respect the fact that he is his own person. He walks to the beat of his own drummer, whether you like it or don't like it. This is a man that is self-made. He went to WWE. He didn't like the way they handled it, and at the time, everybody blamed Ryback. Everybody thought it was strange that I was getting Ryback's back at the time. But I think I actually think it would be a nice fit for him, man. Because there is a draw factor to him. I don't care what anybody says. I do think that there is a draw factor, and I think the problem with WWE is a lot of times you're overexposed. And Ryback in smaller doses, or where he's not as limited to a PG audience, might be a completely different character, right? Because like Batista TV 14 versus Batista TV PG is a little different, right?
Yeah, it's different, but also as a performer, you should be versatile to perform in whatever television rating you're on.
No, absolutely. I know. I agree with that. But I think that some people, when you look at, can you imagine George Carlin having to strip some of his material down so that there was less profanity?
Yeah, I get your point.
You see what I mean? And I'm not, and I think that Ryback is a guy that if he had, because intensity was his big thing, right? I'm not saying like everybody should go out there and it should be profanity, everything should be profanity laden and all that kind of stuff. But Ryback, because of the intensity factor with him, I don't know, man. I actually think he could work in AEW. I do, man. I really do. I'd be okay with it. And again, with it being in Vegas, makes sense.
The only thing I do not want from this, and we're going to wrap this up in a couple minutes, I do not want to see the Disco Inferno on this fucking thing.
I mean,
no.
Listen,
Delete.
I know, but
delete.
I never knock a hustle. That's the thing. I'll never knock a hustle, even though he's so chauvinistic. But
a guy who hires women for his strip club in Vegas, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
I mean, if he's running a strip club, though, you got to hire somebody. Somebody got to do the hiring.
So you think Jericho's going to be there? Is he just more than a performer? Is he actually going to be like the hype marketing guy along with Cody and them?
You know what? I think that he could be there, but in a way, I almost think that this should be about maybe whoever else to bring. Actually, I'm good with it either way. I think he absolutely. You're never going to not want Chris Jericho around, right? He's always going to add to the show. So if you're asking me, I'd love for him to be there.
I heard he's doing a second cruise.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that's cool. Listen, and why not? And that's good for. And again, this is great for all wrestling guys. This is a good thing. This is a really, really good thing.
Any final thoughts on this before we head out this week, good brother?
No, man. I just, you know what? It's good to see. I was watching a little bit of them walking around the arena up there and kind of mapping out the place. And I'm interested to see what the announcements are. So as soon as we're done taping them, the press conference starts like in like 2 hours or something. So everything we talked about is already null and void. But I think they already announced that they have another athlete in the women's division. I think they, I want to see maybe a couple more signings. But again, man, I don't need too much too quick. Everything that they're doing, I feel like they're just giving us little morsels here and there. And that's really what's making this work. You're really building that. And the foreplay is serious with this one. Yeah.
By the way, I like Conrad Thompson. I think he's a cool dude. And speaking about hustling and entrepreneuring, and
for sure.
He does a great job with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's actually like hired, like he's a part of this company, I don't know if we need him to be like the master of ceremonies for all these like press conferences. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I want to know, like, there's only so much you could do with like what you're doing wrestling wise. Like, who's going to be the announcers? Who's going to be like the ring announcers? Like, who's the actual hype people on this thing? Because it's not going to be like All In, where every AEW show you need to have Cody and the Young Bucks welcome everybody to the show on the stage every single week. It's gonna get old really quick.
Would you? Yeah. Well, I don't know if it would though. I mean, if they were signing exciting people and figuring out ways to kind of build hype for matches, they're doing it in an old school prize fighter kind of way. When you look at it, like when Pac came out to confront Hangman, that was kind of old school, like boxing, like someone coming, that, and they're making it work. So I don't know, man, until they have an event where I feel like, whatever, I'm just going to keep like the open mindset that they know what they're doing. They're doing the right things. And, I'm not going to dicker at it like some people are doing out there. But at the same time, I'm going to stay just as excited about it, just like I'm not going to, I never overly criticize WWE. I talk about what I like. So, right now I'm totally digging what they do. And I actually think that, maybe they had a press conference in January. Now here's February. I wouldn't mind them doing one a month, leading up until, maybe Double or Nothing. And then maybe, a TV deal happens after Double or Nothing. Maybe that's when it officially starts. I don't know.
All I want to see tonight is if like they add any more matches to this pay-per-view, and if they actually have any like partnerships with other wrestling companies as far as like which talents could be on the shows or whatever,
Right.
Something like that,
like PWG or something like that. Or,
I know they announced that Pentagon and Phoenix is going to be on AEW, and also I saw the Jimmy Havoc news the other day.
I saw Jimmy Havoc. Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. I'm excited about that. I did see the handshake agreement with Penta, and it's funny too because and I was like, to tie this in, and this is why wrestling is in such a good place right now. And for anybody who thinks that wrestling is dead and the business is dead and whatever everything's going on, this is why everything is needed and important. Obviously, I always say my daughter would never got into wrestling if it wasn't for WWE because it's the easiest for children to digest. But now, so we're watching Being Elite the other day, and I was like, oh, when Pentagon Jr. was in the ring, I was like, oh, that's the guy that Jericho was dressed up at, and she was like, yeah, that's Penta. Like, not even Pentagon Jr. She's like, yeah, it's Penta. I remember from All In. And I was like, okay. Not gonna lie, man, I couldn't remember his name at first, right? I was like, oh man, because it's like when it's heated moment things, I was trying to explain it to her, and like you freeze, right? It's and she was like, yeah, don't worry about it, I got it, Daddy. I'm like, okay. So again, my daughter like just instantly recognizing Pentagon Jr., who how many 9-year-olds are gonna be? You know what I mean? Like the business is in an okay place. It's good right now.
A lot of people older than us will be like, a lot of people from our generations are naive and slow to certain things about life. Not these kids, man. They get onto things pretty quick.
Like I said, man, it's wild. My daughter pauses and like she'll watch matches sometimes in slow mo just to see how they're initiating moves, they're taking moves, how they're like really selling, like helping each other out. Like I reached out to a friend of mine that you guys should really all start following, Big Wavy. At Roy Johnson, on Twitter. But we were just talking. I was like, it's crazy, man. Like it's not like she just watches. Like she's like wants to learn, And I don't know if they didn't open up, if they didn't just totally knock down the fourth wall like they did, and when everyone said, well, kayfabe's dead, so now wrestling's dead. I don't think so. I think maybe to a certain generation, maybe it was dead because they couldn't separate kayfabe and reality. You know what I mean? Right. But I think there's a good portion of the rest of us that can appreciate the characters and the people that are playing the characters and the differences between them. And I'm not gonna lie, man, it was like a cool little moment as a father that like the first time I noticed that she was doing it, but she'll do it a lot, with a lot of different spots and matches and stuff. And that's one of the cool things when you know that somebody's not just passionate about something, they don't like it just because, oh, look, it's a cool whatever type of show. They're really learning like the little nuances, and just even if she never does anything with it, which, whatever, it's just, it's fun to know that my daughter cares that much about something that she's interested to learn.
Right.
So
it's cool.
But the business is dead. So
yeah, it's dying a slow death, my man. How it'll ever last, we don't know. But really quick, guys, I want to say this really quick before we head out. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. Please do us a favor. You don't have to write a review if you don't want to, but please, if you do listen to the show, leave us a rating. Just let us know where we are with the podcast right now. I'm happy that we're able to get these shows back on all these like stream platforms for you guys to get the access to it, because sometimes YouTube can be kind of shady, and like sometimes their infrastructure doesn't work with their apps and stuff. I can attest to this because I do listen to a lot of stuff on YouTube, and they're hit and miss. And I know a lot of the content creators are kind of pissed off that they took like monetizing off their channels. And I've been doing YouTube videos since 2013, and I feel like YouTube is holding money back from myself for some stuff I upload. I was looking at the channel. It's crazy. We're close to almost 50,000 views, like with the number of like podcasts we put on there. Just in total of all the stuff I put in there for the past. It's crazy. I never thought like 100 people would even care what I had to say, let alone that many people. And
you've done a lot of good work over the years.
It's done me shitty along the way. But yeah, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a rating. We want to know how you feel about the show. Let us know what you like about the show. If anything changes, we'll keep you guys updated as the weeks go by. But again, every Wednesday I'm going to be uploading a old radio interview that I did, like yesterday we did with the Velveteen Dream. You can check out the interview. I don't know who'll be next. You never know. So we'll keep adding some more content on the podcast, and hope you guys have a great weekend. You can follow me and Twitter and Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. Make sure to follow Adam on Instagram, AdamDaley13, and we're excited for you guys to listen to the show. I was talking about this with Adam before we came on air today. Like, we had this little stretch where we have Fastlane coming up and coming off the heels of Chamber. So there's going to be some dead weeks in wrestling. That always happens before WrestleMania. So one of these episodes, we're going to do something where we're just going to grab a bunch of questions and then we'll ask for ourselves. Just kind of a way for you guys to get to know us and do a little something different here on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to doing that episode, and thank you guys so much for checking out the show, man. So for the Clown Prince, I am Joshie. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 142 of the Hoots Podcast, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.